You know what is falling apart. There is no room for doubt. What is hidden always leaves traces. Every little detail, an unsent message, an averted glance, the silence that echoes. He hides, but you notice. He distances himself, and you feel it. The unfulfilled promises accumulate like dust on a forgotten shelf. You observe. He ignores the calls. He avoids meetings. He says he is busy. Routine becomes a labyrinth of excuses, and you react. You wait for a sign, look for an answer, justify the absence. In your mind, everything still makes sense. You try to connect the pieces while the puzzle falls apart in front of you. The pattern repeats. Nothing changes. The cycle starts again with more empty promises. The feeling of waste intensifies, and you remain. You think you are strong for enduring, that the weight brings rewards, but the truth is that nothing he does is for you. It is all about him. The bond remains due to your insistence, not because he values it, but because you do not let go. You are merely holding on to the remnants of something that was never whole, a shadow of reality where the effort is yours and the return is zero. The responsibility is yours. There is no victim here. What you accept, you sustain. And now the truth is clear. What was hidden can no longer be supported. The cracks widen, and what once seemed safe begins to crumble. This works for him. The cost, however, is yours. The reality has already been presented. You watch as small cracks turn into immense gaps. He does not notice, or perhaps chooses to ignore. Every time he looks away, a part of the puzzle turns to dust, and you still search for the lost pieces. The balance is wrong. You strive to compensate for his absence. An extra message, an unexpected gesture. You try to fill the voids, but the space between you only increases. You take big steps while he struggles to take small ones. He has fun. He gets distracted. You get consumed. And the equation never balances. You know this. You know that your attempts to get closer are not responses, but silent appeals. His pride rises like an insurmountable wall, while you feel smaller and smaller. The truth is that expectations kill. They corrode every good memory. You relive moments and hear laughter that now seems to echo from a distant place. The tension turns these echoes into a sad song, a melody of bitter longing. You should remember what you felt back then, but the present weighs so heavily that there is almost no room for the past. And when you finally decide that everything must change, he appears again. A smile, a sweet word. And you find yourself overturning your own conclusions. It's a trap, and you fall into it as if it were natural. He knows. He has always known. The cycle restarts, and you find yourself waiting again, believing that this time it could be different. Deep down, you know it won't be, but you continue anyway. What's easier, breaking away from the familiar or enduring the pain of the unknown? This is the dilemma that keeps you moving, doubting yourself, doubting what you truly want. You get lost in a labyrinth of uncertainties, and each corner leads to more frustration. And then, in a moment of clarity, a question arises. How healthy is your hope? You begin to realize that this incessant waiting transforms into your own prison. It's not love, it's disguised dependency. You cling to empty promises, convinced that this is a demonstration of love. But in reality, it's just a sign that you've forgotten your own worth. The pattern becomes a vicious cycle. The other person does what they want. You wait, and with each passing day, the wear is palpable. The illusion of connection gradually dissolving like sugar in water. You wonder if it was already time to stop dissolving, to allow yourself to be whole again. Every unspoken word, every unreciprocated gesture weighs like anchors tied to your feet. When did you start accepting less than you deserve? Reality is raw. There is no genuine love without reciprocity. You see yourself in an ocean of choices, but you're stuck in a leaky boat. Now the silence is deafening. The comfort of the unknown becomes the trade of the usual. You can feel the change approaching, but you hesitate. Moving forward sounds terrifying. The possibility of freedom is overshadowed by fear of what lies ahead. However, in this emotional chaos, you begin to glimpse a truth. Only you can put an end to this narrative. The bond only exists because you sustain it. You who confuse attachment with love, who accept the lack of effort as a new norm. The stark reality is that you are standing still, not because you can't move forward, but because you chose not to. The control is in your hands, even if you forgot that. In your mind, a revolution begins to take shape. Empty promises are no longer fuel. You refuse to be the only one fighting for something that tends toward failure. The future doesn't have to be a repetition of the same. You can decide, and that decision comes not from a place of pain, but from a deep desire to return to yourself. The cracks are now a drawer. They reveal what was not visible before. Every step you take towards the exit brings with it the liberation of a past that no longer serves you. You begin to understand that true strength doesn't lie in what you endure, but in the courage to let go. When reality presents itself, you no longer face shadows but light that reveals new paths, and so the cycle ends not due to a lack of love, but because of self-love. And this love requires no witnesses, only a commitment to the truth. Reality has already been presented, and so, as the decision becomes clearer, a new element emerges amid the chaos. Clarity brings with it not only pain, but also a thin thread of hope. You realize that freedom is terrifying, but also necessary, and in this recognition, a seed begins to germinate. You start to review your memories. Not the memories of what could have been, but the reality of what actually was. Every hurried interaction, every indifferent gesture. Perception allows you to see, without distortion, how the past shaped your view of love. You remember that day when you looked in the mirror and felt a shadow, a strange sensation of having forgotten who you really are. Clothes that no longer represent your spirit. Smiles that sound fake. You realize you were living to please, not to be. The fear of losing what was never complete held you for so long. And this new perspective is raw and painful. Memories of shared laughter are now a distant echo. That connection that seemed indestructible is revealed to be a mirage. All the effort invested barely conceals the real absence of commitment. You want something different, but you also wish to find yourself again. In the depth of this reflection, you notice that change requires more than just the simple courage to leave. It demands self-knowledge, an internal journey that goes beyond empty promises. You begin to understand that it is necessary to register your own emotions, respect your limits, and sustain your own voice. Anger and frustration become powerful allies. They are not merely negative feelings, but fuel for transformation. You observe how strength accumulates within you, a storm about to break. Suddenly, the idea of freeing yourself from the weight of expectation becomes a tangible goal. You start making small changes in your daily life. A new haircut, a new backpack. As you walk through the streets, there's a slight smile on your lips. The curious looks from strangers don't cause anxiety, but a sense of renewal. You take a deep breath. This is your space. Time moves forward. Words spoken and unspoken become echoes of a past that no longer resonate with the same force. You decide that you will no longer let others define your worth. The memories that once were anchors now become lessons. Each experience, a building block of your identity. And so one day you find yourself in a cafe, a place that has always been familiar, but now carries new energy. The tables are filled with conversations, laughter, and you observe it all with fresh eyes. It was there that so many promises were made, but now you feel you are in a place where you can choose what to absorb. You look out the window and see life passing by outside, people moving, living, and you finally understand life goes on regardless of what happens between two people. The truth is that each person is responsible for their own happiness. In that moment, you realize that loneliness doesn't have to be a burden, but an opportunity to rediscover yourself. Sleepless nights transform into moments of introspection. Each book you read reveals new perspectives. Each song you hear reminds you of who you truly are. No longer a shadow, but a vibrant presence. And when he appears again with that charming smile, a different feeling emerges. It's no longer anticipation, but a cold analysis. You listen to him, but you don't let yourself be swayed. His words have turned into empty echoes, a reflection of what you have already overcome. You realize that even in the face of old patterns, your understanding has changed. The desire for connection is no longer an anchor. Now it is an invitation. You know you can offer love, but you also know you need to receive it in equal measure. The negotiation of affection becomes less and less attractive. The conversations that once pulled you back are now just dialogues. He tries to guess your reactions, but you remain steadfast. It's as if a veil has been lifted. When he pulls back, you don't wonder why. You just accept that this is part of the cycle. And so the empty space that once caused you anguish is now welcoming. You have the opportunity to fill it with what truly matters. Your own essence. The autonomy that once seemed like a mirage is now a tangible reality. When the sun sets, you reflect on everything you have learned. The old wounds have not been erased, but now they are marks of overcoming. Each scar is a proof of courage. You don't fear the unknown, because now you are aware that you can face any storm. The reality has already been presented. You are no longer lost, you have found yourself again. The sun sets and the golden light envelops everything around you. The shadows dance, but now you do not fear them. Each one reflects a part of who you were. Your journey is far from linear. It is a tangle of experiences that have shaped the person you have become. The lessons are not just marks, but springboards. You have allowed yourself to look inward. And in that look, you realized what really matters. Not the empty promises, but the genuine commitment to yourself. Life begins to have a new rhythm. The melody of everyday life fills your veins with energy. You have learned to recognize your needs, to respect your limits. At that familiar corner, you pause. A cafe that once was a scene of anguish is now a space for contemplation. You observe the movement of the people, each one trapped in their own narrative. There is no more comparison, only a quiet acceptance. You realize that many of them are also struggling, seeking their own paths amidst the chaos. A touch of freedom invades your mind. The social pressure slowly dissipates, and the need for validation becomes irrelevant. What truly matters is how you feel about yourself, and that feeling is strengthened by small daily achievements. A meeting with friends, a project you decided to pursue, or simply a solitary moment of introspection. And when he appears again, something changes. The glances are no longer anxious. They are observant, critical. You listen attentively, but you do not let yourself be swayed by his rhetoric. He talks about missing you, about moments that seem lost in time, but you already know, nostalgia is just a construction of the mind, a way to soften what was never real. His words echo, but now they sound different. They are just sounds devoid of the power they once had over you. While he speaks, you allow yourself to feel a wave of compassion, not for him, but for yourself. You used to spend so much time feeling his pain, his frustrations, that you forgot to look at your own victories. You remember the nights when you woke up, heart heavy, the endless conversations that led nowhere. Now you understand that those moments were part of a futile search for happiness in someone who was not ready to offer reciprocation. It's in this understanding that you find strength. The autonomy that once seemed distant is now an intrinsic part of who you are. The memory of dependence is still present, but it is no longer a burden. It's a warning, a reminder of what you have overcome. With each passing day, you build layers of resilience that make you stronger. When someone approaches, there is no longer that urgency. You can choose whom to let in. No anxiety in deciding about future relationships. There is a lightness in your approach. You open yourself to new experiences, but maintain an awareness of what is acceptable, what you deserve, and that is transformative. You recognize that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but of courage. Showing who you really are, with your imperfections and uncertainties, is an act of bravery. Instead of hiding behind a facade, you choose to be authentic. This new stance attracts not only new people, but also those who truly matter. In a casual conversation, you mention a personal project you want to start. An old dream that was stifled by insecurities. As you speak, her eyes light up. She sees the passion you carry, and it inspires her. This exchange brings a smile to your face, not just for the recognition, but for the understanding that together, connections can be genuine, fueled by a sincere desire to grow and learn. And thus, you begin to live a new chapter. The fears have not disappeared, but they are now accompanied by a renewed confidence. You realize you have the tools to face any emotional storm. Each decision is built on a solid foundation of self-worth. Memories are no longer anchors, but steps that lead to new horizons. Each step taken pushes aside the gray clouds of the past and reveals a clear sky ahead. You are able to dream again. And now the dreams are not just reflections of a search for love, but expressions of who you truly wish to become. When you find yourself in silence, finally comfortable with your own company, there is a peace that fills the void. It is in this space that you begin to create. Painting, writing, dancing. It may be a bit clumsy at first, but it is authentic. The movements have a life of their own, and you finally allow yourself to be free. And looking at the stars that night, you understand. Eternity is made up of small moments, and each one of them is yours. You are not the sum of broken promises. You are the sum of your choices. And now each choice is a step towards true freedom. In this way, Reality has already been presented, and you are ready to live it,